Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I am your host. And joining me, as always, is our go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how you feeling, buddy?
Joe Lever, a.k.a. Big Diesel, coming at you hot. My name's Big Diesel. I like to play Call of Duty.
Are you going to explain to anyone why you're calling yourself Big Diesel now? Because I feel like that's an inside joke that maybe most people wouldn't understand.
It's basically what I call myself in the gamer realm.
Oh, yes.
Big Diesel. Monster Hunter, Big Diesel's coming for you, Anjanath. Lop your tail off.
Now, I think this all started because we started calling Azur Rathalos like Diesel Pete, but I think it's because that name, we were trying to say something else. Someone was trying to say something else, and I think I heard Diesel Pete, and then we started going with that, and then Joe started calling himself Big Diesel. Obviously, it makes perfect sense to me, which Azur Rathalos, still not a pushover in master
Not
rank.
by any means. Like, you gotta be on your toes. You get caught on, with your wits not about you, it's over.
Yeah, you're
Monster Hunter World's still an epic game. Probably game of the year again. And all it did was release an expansion, but it might as well be a whole new game.
Yeah, I feel like at this point I'll put up like 4 different games for us to like vote on, and then I'll jokingly at the end just be like, it's actually Iceborne. No, I'm just kidding. And people will be like, what? I'll be like, ha, gotcha. Anyway, speaking of games, we like to talk about video games here, but we also like to talk about movies, television shows, anything in entertainment, really, theme parks, music, just stuff we feel passionate about.
Pop culture.
Pop culture. We should probably read more, but we don't. But we're trying to. And I actually might start getting into it a little bit more, but it's more audible stuff. Not that they're paying me. Hashtag not sponsored or non-spawn. But
we could be.
We could be, yeah, for sure. In a heartbeat, Audible. That'd be great. Anywho, which, side note, I remember listening to like a Tina Fey, Bossy Pants. Like, it was fun to listen to Tina Fey narrate her own book. That's all I'm trying to say. I like hearing the author narrate. That's all I'm trying to say.
That's
anyway,
kind of cool.
It's really cool. It was really cool, actually. Anyway, besides all of that, let's get into a few trailers. Now, we're going to talk about a trailer that came out a little while ago and a trailer that came out just last week. We're going to start with that one, though. One that is actually the source material is a little bit near and dear to my heart, because guess what? We're talking about a movie that's based on a theme park ride. Has this been done before? Yes, It definitely has. It definitely has been done before to varying levels of success. We're looking at Jungle Cruise this week, but we're looking back to Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion, which I believe came out in the same year or really close or something like that. Not a lot of people talk about Haunted Mansion because it didn't really live up and kind of take the source of what the Haunted Mansion was and kind of elevate it or change it in any kind of cool ways. It was really corny, Eddie Murphy, like,
that was
comedy.
Like the last we ever heard from Eddie Murphy, wasn't it? Like,
he's done other things, but not, I don't know. I'm not saying, like, he kind of left the scene for a bit. Now he might be coming back into it a little bit more. I don't know. Either way. But then obviously Pirates of the Caribbean, taking that ride and kind of going not in a completely different direction, but having its own identity and then kind of inspiring the ride, and then they kind of fed off each other. But now Disney obviously going back to their own kind of source with the Jungle Cruise here, which for people who aren't familiar with the Jungle Cruise, don't worry about it. I'm Jimmy, and I'll be your skipper, and I'm happy to be your swimming instructor if you don't laugh at my jokes as well. That's one of the jokes on there. I actually... Joe, you got a question?
Before we get knee deep in Jungle Cruise here, quick thing back to Pirates of the Caribbean, probably the arguably most successful transition from theme park to movie to film.
For sure.
I honestly, I know we chewed up a couple of them and talked, I don't want to say ridiculed, but we downplayed a couple of those movies a little bit. But, I think for the greater... Overall, I don't mind them. I'll sit and I'll watch one of those. I think they're fairly entertaining. They're well done, granted. I think sometimes there's a little bit lacking, and I'm not going to get into the details. I'm sure we've talked about before, but in general, they are really good, entertaining movies for that realm of material. Pirates and all.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of competition out there nowadays. I think there used to be back in the day for more Pirates. It's kind of like Westerns nowadays, where if you make a Western, like, there have been many before it, and so you kind of have to, I don't know, do something to really spice it up, which not a lot of people do. But with Pirates, I feel like there was a lot of, maybe some older pirate films, but we didn't have a lot in the main vein of like A tier,
Sure.
big budget pirate movies. There wasn't like an
Yeah.
audience for it, and then Pirates came out, and with
I would
Disney behind
argue
it.
that closest to that would be, and it's a more mature version of this or the pirate genre, but um, Black Sails.
Oh, for sure.
I thought
Yeah.
that was a really good show. Unfortunately, I mean, they concluded it okay, but I felt like it was a little rushed or forced.
How many
I,
seasons?
I, I think there were only 3 or 4, but I
Okay.
felt like it could have gone on for a lot more. It was entertaining, well done, great characters, great story. Um, but they wrapped it up, and I think they had to. But it was, I liked it. I liked it. They, took Pirates of the Caribbean and put a serious twist on it, and it was kind of during that era of when um, the pirate era was, I guess, coming to an end due to military takeover and government spreading.
Yeah,
Right.
man.
So,
That's like what like I think the second Pirates of the Caribbean is about, and then it just like keeps going, and they're like, oh, watch out, or the East India Trading Company's coming in, and they're gonna like get rid of all the pirates, and then it's like,
yeah.
but yeah, I would be interested to go back and watch all 5 of those Pirates movies. I don't know if you would be too, Joe, but it's like I'd love to dedicate a show, like once in a while, to doing just a full series like that, and be like, all right, we went through all of them, our favorites, our least favorites, and kind of see how like it literally for that one, for me, that franchise ebbs and flows. It really does, because there's ones where I'm like, oh my god, this is so good, and then other ones where I'm like, what happened? I'm like, how did
Yeah.
this happen? So
True.
yeah,
Sometimes I can appreciate the zaniness in some of them, but sometimes I felt like it was a little like, okay, come on.
yeah, yeah. But Pirates of the Caribbean, side note, one of my top 3 favorite Magic Kingdom rides. You guys probably know that if you watch the other Disney videos that I've done in the past. I love Pirates of the Caribbean. It's such a dark ride, but in water. There's something kind of magical about it. But another one of those rides, one of my favorites that I don't think I even put in my top 5, but I love Jungle Cruise. And when I was a kid, little boy, little Jimmy, loved the Jungle Cruise so much. I used to make up my own jokes. I'm pretty sure they used one of those jokes, and they've been using it ever since. Later on, there's this temple, and they kind of stop the boat, and they're like, "Should we go in the temple?" I'm like, "Surely we should go in the temple. Call it like the Shirley Temple, huh?" And like my parents told me that they were going to use it from now on. I don't know if that's the case. I've heard it, so I'm going to take credit for it. But they did let me steer the boat once, and as a child, I felt like I was actually steering it, but I'm pretty positive it's on a track.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say it.
Yeah, no, it is. But basically, for people who don't know what it is, you basically get into, I'm just going to say basically, get into a boat with the skipper. This person's going to tell you a bunch of jokes, and you go down the various rivers of the world. We're looking at the Nile, the Amazon, the Congo, and you basically get to see a bunch of animatronics, a bunch of hippos, giraffes, lions, a snake, stuff like that. But obviously they're not real, because at the time Walt Disney, way back in the day, wanted to actually have real animals on this thing, and they're like, well, it's not going to happen because we can't really like lure them to the river all the time. So they're like, okay, well, let's
small enclosures, real small enclosures.
It's the same problem that they had with Jurassic Park when they were like, "Where's the Dilophosaurus? Are there any dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour?" So it basically was that problem. And eventually, this dream would come true over at Disney's Animal Kingdom with the Kilimanjaro safaris, but that's not on a river, and you get to like go through the Serengeti and stuff. There's real live animals there, so that's kind of the real life Jungle Cruise. But so the Jungle Cruise itself, instead of saying let's be serious about this, they just decided to make jokes about everything. So when you go on this, you have the skipper, someone who's actually kind of piloting the boat, and they have all these stupid little corny jokes, and you just get to kind of go around there. But now Disney, because they're looking to kind of keep sprucing up their own original content and their own original IP stuff, has decided to go back to the old, well, if it's a theme park ride, let's hopefully make it into a good movie thing. And I'll be honest, I'm hopeful for this one, because not only does it star 2 people that I really enjoy, Dwayne Johnson, who I think is pretty good in almost everything I see him in, but Emily Blunt, who I think is just she's just wonderful. I love her. Yeah. And it's got this kind of mummy vibe to it, like the old Mummy, like Brendan Fraser Mummy style. Like that's what I've heard other people compare it to. And that is right up my alley. Like it's just like kind of adventure, fun adventure for adventure's sake.
It's a good foundation for something that would appeal to the masses and is, contrary to if it was more of a niche, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a serious essence to it, but it breaks that ice a little bit from time to time, just based off of the trailers. Now maybe it's a little more jokey than even I'm uh, giving it credit for, but overall, I think this will be a role that suits Dwayne Johnson well.
Even
In
if the
all
suit
honesty,
doesn't suit him well, because he's like stuffed into this thing. He's gonna like pop out of that suit.
yeah, he looks good. I think he'll play the part well. I think he'll be pretty darn good.
Yeah. Do you think he's gonna be good?
It gets a little crazy mystical at a point.
Yes.
From what they're showing,
a little maybe too much. Like snakes
is it gonna
making
be
of
weird?
armor and like a dude, like an undead person or something.
Yeah, is it gonna be too jarring weird, or is it gonna be fitting? I don't know, maybe fitting. It starts out as he's got this orchestrated. It's almost just like the theme park ride. He's like paid off these guys to act as like an Aborigine tribe and shoot arrows at his boat.
Oh,
and then he's got like this fake waterfall.
I didn't get that was the joke with the Aborigines, because like in the actual ride, you get attacked by like real ones, apparently, supposedly.
Yeah, because he acts all surprised, like, "Oh God, Aborigines!" and they shoot arrows, and he's freaking out his
should we say indigenous people?
Tourists.
Aborigines are Australia only.
Oh, really? What does he call them? He calls them something, some sort of tribal
natives.
Yes, something like that.
Natives.
And they shoot the arrows, and he tries to get them all scared, and acts all scared, and the arrows like hit the cab of his boat, and he's like,
yeah.
And he looks at him, and he's like,
yeah,
Come
on. And he's got like a fake hippo that he brings out of the water.
Exactly. Yeah. Honestly, I think it's going to be entertaining and cool. Tie into the ride really well, while still taking itself serious enough to be an entertaining film.
Yeah.
I'm almost thinking like Jumanji-esque, only I honestly think better.
I hope so. I hope so too, because like you said,
I think the principle is a little more alluring.
Yeah, well, I hope you're right, and like you said, I hope it's a good role for him. I want to see more of him acting, because it feels like they just gave him the lines. Like, it doesn't really seem like he's playing the part of anybody different than he normally does. Like, maybe a little more hesitant, but he still seems like an action hero. And I think the best beat of this whole trailer is just her hitting him in the face inadvertently, like during the fight scene. Yeah, he's like, good for him. Like, I was like, oh, that's fun. Like, they're like a platonic friendship, and she's clearly not used to adventuring like he is. And instead of getting really angry, he's just like, he's like, it happens. Like, it's fine. So I think the two of them playing off each other is probably going to be the reason to go see this.
Yeah. I mean, really whether you like it or not, I mean, if the Rock can turn something like the movie Skyscraper into something semi-successful, this is going to do just fine.
Well, that, and you got to think that, again, this is my...
It's charismatic.
I'm going to put on my my Mickey themed tinfoil hat here. If you get this one to do well, and you kind of cash in on, like Joe said, the Jumanji money a little bit here, you can do an infinite number of adventures here. Any river, anywhere in the world, like, Jungle Cruise, just even, like, Arctic, eventually. Like, you can do whatever you want with it. Just do the first one as, like, kind of classic throwback to the fans of the ride. You got the star power there with these two, and it's just, I think it's going to be an easy money maker for them. I don't know if it's going to crest $1 billion. At the same time, I don't see this going anywhere other than just like, it's a pretty fun movie. Like, I think it's going to be really, it's not going to offend anybody.
To be honest, there's something about it, like the just aura around it, the whole jungly cruisy deal, kind of like Anaconda, only better. Because I'll admit, like the movie Anaconda, I love the like scenes of them on that old riverboat on the river.
I want more jungle though. I want like more hanging trees. You know what I mean? I want it to be like more enclosed.
But I'll admit, I'll probably go see this because it just seems like it's up my alley. I like the idea, the plot a little bit more, so I'm all about it. I will probably see it in theaters.
Yeah,
and Emily Blunt and The Rock, I'm down.
Well, I have to, because I have to support like the child inside who'd be like, wait, they're making a Jungle Cruise movie and you're thinking about not seeing it? I'd be like, I'm sorry, yes, I'm going. I love, man, and the Jungle Cruise, they got some great theming. If you guys want to have some fun, what you do is you type in Jungle Cruise like Q line music, because they got this like 1920s like old timey music that plays, and then someone will there's like this guy who like runs the radio, and he'll just like pop in every once in a while, and he'll make some sort of horrible jungle pun, and then he'll just like it'll just keep playing the music, and you can just listen to it for hours. It's great, and I'm sure that radio will be in this movie. There's gonna be so many call outs. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so good. But at the same time, I think people will see it and they'll probably not. They probably won't say it's like groundbreaking or earth-shattering or like it's the greatest film of that year. But it'll just be a very non-offensive, fun thing, which Disney used to be really known for. So
yeah, just done right, done well, center of the road film. Here we are, basically giving it the review before we've only seen the trailer, but
yeah,
I think it's slightly predictable, and you kind of go in knowing what you're going to get and hoping for more.
Yeah, and I think out of all the Disney films that they've done based on attractions, this one won't be the worst because Haunted Mansion, which is so sad because there's such a love for Haunted Mansion, especially nowadays. The last one that they did kind of like this was, I think, Tomorrowland. I could be wrong about that. That one's not based on any specific attraction, and it's not even based necessarily on the like area in Disneyland or Magic Kingdom. But that ride or that movie is actually not that bad. It's kind of confusing like for who they made it for because it's kind of like young adult, but it's got some pretty high concepts. I don't know. But yeah, I'd like to see this do well, and like I don't know, I'm interested in it. So Joe, for you, you're gonna see it in theaters probably, but Hypometer, how you feeling?
I'll give it a strong 8.5. In all honesty, That's enough to get my butt in the seat.
I'm right there with you, buddy. I'll say 85 at least, maybe 90, just because it's like it's pretty good. Like I'm sweating them in the jungle. I'm like.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's not so much that heat; it's that gosh darn humidity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true too. Also, I'm really worried about like they kind of show the CG waterfall and stuff. I'm glad we didn't see a lot of like CG animals. Like we didn't see like a ton of like CG elephants charging because like if they do too much of that, people will be like, so is this like Jumanji 2? I know they're making Jumanji 2, but Jumanji 3, like kind of thing where it's like, yeah. I think
that's the only problem that might I don't think it'll mess with people too badly. I think it'll have its own distinction, but I think it'll have that vibe to it to where, it's got that vibe, but on top of it, you've also got Dwayne Johnson in it, which unfortunately connects it too much to where, kids might assume,
Well, this is
adults like us, we get it, but.
You know that this is the part of his trifecta for jungle movies. So it's Jungle Cruise, Jumanji, and The Rundown. So he's cranking out those jungle movies. I'm just kidding. The Rundown's a really old one, but it's actually pretty fun. Just don't let him get a shotgun because apparently he's very good with those shotguns. He can hit people from very far away. Must be slugs.
Slugs. Has to be slugs.
Anyway,
for sure.
I'm interested to know people though too because this dropped like last Friday or something. So we're recording like on Friday. But I want to know what you guys think about Jungle Cruise because I really want to hear if like even if you're not a Disney fan and you didn't know it was based on a ride because they don't really it's not explicitly stated. They're not like, well, a long time ago there was an idea for a ride. Like they don't do any of that. But just looking at this from a perspective of not being maybe a Disney fan or a fan of the ride, does this look like a fun movie? Like, that's what I want to know to people, because I can't take the bias away of the ride for me, because I'm just going to be like, I'll have that in my head, and I'll be like, all right, which jokes? The backside of water joke is a big one that they play. So when I heard that one, I'm
Eighth Wonder of the World.
Eighth Wonder, they do that a lot.
See, I don't really get that because I can't remember the ride. I know I went on it when I was at Magic Kingdom, right?
Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
And but I cannot recall.
Well, you go under.
I vaguely remember the boat and the captain telling jokes or whatever, but
you go under a waterfall at one point, and then they're like, and it's the eighth wonder of the world, like the backside of water, or ninth wonder. I don't know how many wonders we have nowadays, but and the new joke is that the skippers all call it O2H because it's H2O backwards. They'll go like O2H. O2H, and then you get like people on the boat starting to chant it too. It's very like it's like oh, okay. Like people clap now. Like they're like it's the backside of water. People are like yeah. Like you're like. This is great. This is like when they originally designed the waterfall, that wasn't like, all right, this is gonna be such a sweet joke. Like they're like, it's going under a waterfall. Yeah, it's great. I think in another life I would have been a decent Jungle Cruise skipper. Maybe one day I'll get to do it just for like one round, just one round of it, baby. Disney, come on. I'll do it for freezies. Anyway, let's talk about another trailer that came out a little while ago that we kind of, I think, neglected to talk about, but I did want to touch on it briefly. We're talking Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn, or something like that? I think that's the title.
Does anybody really care? Yeah.
Joe, I want you just watched it. I want to know what you think. Well, how do you feel about this?
I didn't retain much of it. All I got from it is it's essentially a Harley Quinn everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's a Harley-centric shitty DC spinoff.
Well, what makes you feel like it's subpar?
Because in all honesty, I don't care that much about Harley Quinn. Why would I? Like, I mean, yeah, I get she's kind of comical and zany and, you know, a scary essence of the DCEU, but
Yeah.
ultimately, like, I don't take her seriously. Is she a real threat to any of the, DC characters I truly care about, like Batman, Superman, that group, the
Well,
Justice League?
I think it's less about her being a threat and more just like about a story about her and her kind of
Yeah,
ragtag
and
group of
again,
girls
yeah,
or women.
exactly. And it's gonna be all full of those puns and then the little jokes about I'm Harley freaking Quinn and just like like crazy girl power. I don't really, and I don't think that's what they're trying to come across with at all. I mean, but I I'm just not interested.
Sure.
You
Uh,
know?
yeah, I think the thing that interests me most is Ewan McGregor playing Black Mask. And I'm just a really big Ewan McGregor fan, so like seeing him play a villain once in a while is
He
really fun.
is who is he?
He's the guy in the trailer. He's like walking around. He's got the white coat on, and he's like, "I own you" or whatever. And he's like, "You need me." All this stuff. Like he's kind of like a like the new age Joker for Harley. Not that Black Mask is that, but just kind of like her new like guy that she feels like she has to answer to. But she's like, "No, I'm not going to." So he's just going to try to have her killed or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. I heard somebody say this, and I think it's a really good point. And this is from the Weekly Planet, but they talked about like we're still not sure if live action Harley Quinn plays super well. I think Margot Robbie does a super good job of portraying that character,
She does.
but she came out of the Batman the animated series, and that's such a weird show. You know, it's so beloved, but like she's like oh Mr. J, like all this like that kind of speech and like her fighting style, and she's got like a gun and a hammer and stuff like that. It's hard to like really I think empathize with her because she still feels like such a cartoon. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, wow, I don't think I could have put it in the words better. I think that's kind of the vibe I spin on it.
Yeah, so that makes it. I feel like when you have, it's my. That's the same problem I have, and he's made to be this way. That's my problem with Deadpool. I just don't care that even when there's like dramatic moments where it's like his wife died or whatever. I'm like, I don't like. I'm sorry, man. Like I just do not like. I maybe feel bad for her, but like you're not. It's just you're just a joke. Like it's like a joke personified, and if something bad happens to the joke, I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. I just don't. And the team that she has, I think only one of them might have superpowers, which would be Black Canary. They've got Huntress, her, and somebody else. And the only compelling thing about that team to me is the fact that I think they actually trained hyenas, which I was like, okay, so they're trying to take it to the next level.
No.
Yeah, so in the trailer, like she's with those. I think those are real hyenas that they trained, and you can train hyenas, I guess. I mean, in Hollywood, they kind of train
That's
anything,
crazy.
but that's cool.
Interesting fact, hyenas are more closely related to cats or big cats than they are canines.
Just so weird. But if they get the
I think they got to be semi prehistoric, you know.
yeah, and they're cool. Like they're cool creatures, and I think that is an interesting facet to add on to like Harley. But at the same time, that adds more to the okay. So she is like a cartoon because she didn't have hyenas before, or maybe she did, and she's gonna get them back. I don't know. It just I'm
Uh,
sure it'll be fine. I think after Suicide Squad, I'm so much less inclined to be like I'm gonna rush out and see every DC movie now. Like it has to be something that I really feel like is really gonna shock me or something that I'm really excited about. But for this channel, I'll probably still go see it just because it's like I feel like I need to go see every comic book movie and talk about it. But
I mean, I might. Maybe there's a trailer or two that comes out that kind of perks my interest a bit more.
well, that's funny you say that, Joe, because a lot of people love this trailer, and people were joking about it. They're like, no, don't do that because that's the same thing that happened with Suicide Squad because they came out with that Bohemian Rhapsody trailer, and people were like, oh my god, we love it, and then they kind of shifted and changed the movie to fit the trailer. So the question is this trailer indicative of the final product, or is it another one of those like DC like, well, let's see how people like it, and then if people don't like it, we'll be like, we'll change it. But if they love it, it's like, okay, go more
Jeez, do
into
we
this.
even know anymore? I don't know. DC, it's not to the scale that like an Aquaman is or any Batman or Superman deal. even Wonder Woman. I just don't know if it's got the pull.
Yeah, I think, and for me too, Levi sent me a picture the other day, but it's like Titans season 2, and it's like I think Deathstroke is going to be the main bad guy, and like for me that like tries.
And now is that a CW
me.
show? Or,
nope, that's their DC streaming service. Freaking weird.
So to watch that, I'd have to pay for that, and that's really all they got, isn't it?
Kind of. They had Swamp Thing, and then they shut that down. So it's like, for me, I love Deathstroke, but I don't know how much I'm willing to pay to watch this incarnation of Deathstroke, especially if they're not going to commit to Joe Manganiello's one on the big screen after we've seen him once. I'm like, you guys are like, if you're going to do Birds of Prey, and they're doing it, and they have Black Mask in here, but he's not wearing the Black Mask, I hope the next trailer shows another villain or something else that like is a little more compelling for me, because all these characters are a little too basic for me, and there's not really much that compels me.
And why is that? Because we've been spoiled with the big bads already?
Well, it's not so much the big bads, it's just that like I want to care about these characters, and I'm trying to think back to like Guardians of the Galaxy and like that trailer, like what endeared me to them. I think they're all different enough. Like this cast, I don't really know why they're working together. Like, why would anybody want to work with Harley Quinn? Like, even if you were in a bad situation, you wouldn't be like, oh cool, that person over there with the hammer is the one I'm gonna team up with. I'd be like,
well, and they're all bad people, right?
Kind of. Not always. Like, Black Canary is usually good, but maybe it's a different version, or she's bad and becomes good. Huntress, I think, is kind of a villain. It's all too ambiguous, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like the ladies are gonna like take revenge on Black Mask, because the trailer to me didn't seem like super clear cut. Like, it felt like they're trying to, like, they're running away from him, or like trying to get away from him, and they're trying to get out of Gotham. Maybe. I don't know. Like, it's just like, and I think Margot Robbie's performance has always been great. I'm sure that'll be the best thing about this movie, but I just want to see another trailer, and I think because of that, my hypometer is more at like 55% or 50.
Yeah, I'll give it 50 myself, to be honest.
Like, and it's not like 20 or 30. It's not like frigid. Yeah. It's just kind of like,
I'm kind of indifferent to it.
Yeah, and I like when you see one of these things, and we talk about this a lot, I'd rather have you be like either really, really something that's so like I have to see this, or like I have to see it because it looks so bad. Like, you know, I want it to just be like one, or it's like if I'm indifferent, that means like. And again, it might not necessarily be targeted towards somebody such as myself who's watched so many of these comic book movies, but I would like to see like a fun movie like set with Harley Quinn. I just want to have more compelling characters around her, and maybe those characters are better than they've given credit for in the trailer. But Black Mask, honestly, Ewan McGregor is kind of the reason I would want to see this.
Now, who is he? What have I seen him in?
He's Obi-Wan Kenobi from the prequel trilogy of Star Wars.
You know me better than that.
Moulin Rouge. He was in Moulin Rouge.
The live action?
Yeah.
That came out already?
No, Moulin Rouge a long time ago. Oh,
am I thinking of a different movie? The one with the little dragon and stuff?
Well, what are you thinking about, dude? I don't know what
I'm thinking of Mulan.
Oh, no, sorry. No, yeah, he's in that movie. It's like we're trying to make it as authentic as possible with all these like people from the region and Ewan McGregor. Like, people would find him. What else would you have seen him in?
How about I just look it up?
Look him up,
and we can move on.
Yeah,
Ewan McGregor.
He's very talented. He's going to be in Dr. Sleep.
Okay. Yeah. I saw him in the trailer.
Well, like, what movies have you seen him from? I'm trying to think what else he's famous for. He's very talented, and he's a horribly good singer, too.
Oh.
Easy on the eyes, too. You know, he's a good-looking dude.
Long way around, and Dr. Sleep.
This is compelling stuff. Well, while Joe figures out where he's seen him before, while he's, like, scrolling through his IMDb, and he's like, there's one episode of
Nowhere. I have not seen any of the movies he was in or is going to be in. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Well, you might be seeing this one. Man, I wish we lived closer. Then we could just go together.
Okay, when I see the photo of him as a character in is Kenobi, I recognize him.
Yeah.
But, okay.
He's great. He's the best part of the prequel trilogy. I'm saying it right now. And I've always pretty much felt that way. But, yeah. And again, if you're out there and listening to this and you think we're kind of being too hard on it, that's probably completely justified in your feeling. And I hope that if you're somebody who's really excited about this, let me know like why. I want to know. I could see where it'd just be like a fun time. And honestly, DC just needs more fun movies. So I'm hoping that's what this is, and maybe it's like what Suicide Squad wanted to be. So I'm hoping like this, and then Suicide Squad 2 will just be better. And with James Gunn at the helm for Suicide Squad 2, I feel like that one, or the Suicide
potential.
Squad, yeah, it's gonna, and they have all those names of all those people, and half of them are gonna die. Where he like, I remember he tweets somebody was like, "Don't get attached," and I was like, he's gonna kill off so many of these like pseudo famous people, and be like, and this is what's their face, and they're gonna die like immediately, and it'll be like, well, the Suicide Squad, that's what happens. So yeah, I don't know, this one less compelling to me than Suicide Squad, but we'll see. DC's just in a weird place, man. They're in a weird place. Yeah. Joe, let's move on, though. Before we get into that segment of the show that we always like to talk about, and this is kind of part of that, but I kind of want to separate it out a little bit here, just so that way people can get see this, and it'll be part of the title and everything. But Joe and I sat down last weekend. Was it last weekend, Joe? Oh my God.
It was.
Time moves in mysterious ways. And we sat down and we're like, all right, let's watch something. And Joe comes across Brightburn, a movie that neither of us saw back.
It always sparked my interest.
Oh, it always sparked both of our interests. And I was like, you know what? I keep coming across this movie, but I was like, I'm not going to watch it without Joe. So we sat down and watched it. So, Joe, what is a brief, spoiler-free plot synopsis of Brightburn?
Yeah, so play-by-play. Okay, so little Jimmy.
So the house was white.
I think this is so funny. Everybody's on the other end listening, like, oh God.
They're like, please
fast
no.
Fast forward.
Mitchell Mage's just skipping through.
Yeah, they're all like, I hope Jimmy gives the actual summary one sentence below. First off, James Gunn, I believe, was executive producer.
Yes.
Had hands in it some way, in a somewhat big way.
He's got his little fingers in the pie,
Yeah, fingers in the pudding, as they say.
Oh, is that what they say? I've been saying
they do.
Whoops.
They do. Anywho, I forget who the actual director was, but I suppose it doesn't matter. I just felt worth mentioning that James Gunn was involved.
I'll look it up.
Helping create this. Needless to say, this is basically a movie of, if you've ever seen the show Smallville, right? You know the initial story of Superman. He falls to Earth in a meteor shower in Smallville, Kansas. Well, in this instance, they change it to Brightburn, Kansas, hence the name of the movie. Oh. The name is also fitting because of, Superman, laser beam eyes, glowing eyes, all that shit. It kind of metaphorical in some ways. So it's essentially the events of Superman falling to Earth, getting found by a family they are not the Kents. They find him in the woods, adopt him, hide the ship, the whole 9 yards. It basically is a Smallville story, Clark Kent coming up as a kid. It basically kicks you off in the movie, spares you all the early on details, which is appropriate in this instance. And he's about 12 years old, right? Starting to get to that phase just prior to teenager, a little awkward and all that. Doesn't know about any of his powers yet. School and all. They don't reference any characters. Nobody's name is Clark. Nobody's name is Kent. You don't have any Lana or Lois. None of that stuff. It's not. They don't relate it to Superman or the comics at all. You're just supposed to make that connection naturally because it clearly is.
Well, he's got the blue and red though. He's constantly wearing blue and red.
Yeah, but clearly they're just trying to draw the line of, this is what could have happened, right? So anywho, just given the aura of the movie, the way it's shot, the events that start to happen, you kind of know the direction this movie is headed pretty quickly. It does have kind of horror aspects to it. But so 12 years old, essentially going through these awkward times, yada, yada, hurts some girl at school, discovers his powers and stuff, and starts to rebel a little bit. He's going through these weird dream sequences where the ship in the barn and the cellar, it's locked up. He doesn't know about it, but it calls to him in his sleep, and he kind of sleepwalks to it. And and they find him doing all sorts of weird stuff in his sleep a couple times. And eventually, he's awake and he's understanding what's going on. He's starting to translate the language that's speaking to him, that sort of thing. And he starts developing his own, what do you call it? Sense of being, right?
Sure.
And understanding what he is, etc. And when he finds out that his parents lied to him, he doesn't take to it very well. Clark Kent in Smallville, I think it's an abrupt thing. Like, what do you mean? I'm an alien. I'm different and all that. Well, it's kind of that, only this kid like has a full blown meltdown. Like, he loses full, right? And he basically isn't the smartest tool in the shed, does bad things and thinks he gets away with it, and he doesn't really care whether he does or not, because he realizes that he's different and kind of all powerful, and he's meant to take the world.
Yeah.
Is kind of how he translates things, and from what we ascertain, that is true. So he does, like, they really embrace the horror aspects of this. Like, if Superman was not good, this is what could have happened. And he essentially, like, this girl he liked at school, he creeped on her for a quick second. He broke her arm at one point because she thought he was a creep for doing it, because it's some weird stuff, right? And her mom, like, says bad things about him in the principal's office, all that. His parents defend him, but they still are mad at him for doing something bad, hurting the girl's hand, all that. Play by play, you asked for it.
I said a spoiler-free plot synopsis.
Oh, did we flip the spoilers?
No, we haven't. It's too late. We've spoiled it for everyone who didn't want to see this.
Spoiled it. It's been out for a while. I'm not really ruining it for you.
David Yarovarsky, Yarovarsky, is that how you say his name? That's Yarovesky. I'm sorry about that. That was the director. And just a little side note here, while we're still just looking at Joe, $6 million budget, brought in $32 million overall. So a success, but not like, it's one of those things that if they made enough, they can make more of these. Yeah, that's why there's a budget. There's a budget there.
Yeah. Well, overall, it is a fun movie to watch. I encourage people to check it out. It's kind of interesting. Like, they took the Superman character, didn't call it out in any way, but they related it to that storyline and basically said, here's the other side of the coin, where this is Earth 2, what would have happened or could have happened, scenario number 2, if you will. But anyway, I'm sorry, spoilers, but I want to get through the meat of it and really explain it to people. And go watch it for yourself and judge. He basically goes crazy.
Possession.
And it is kind of weird in that way. Like, he's drawing weird things. He's kind of starting to embrace this take over the world. He doesn't like people because people are mean. He's kind of misunderstood and made fun of as a kid. He is smart. But yeah, he really, like, he kills his uncle, a technically adoptive uncle. He kills that girl's mother, who you don't know what he does with. You just know that he...
Until later.
And later you find out what he does to her. Spoilers. Keep in mind spoilers. If you want to go watch it now, go watch it now. Come back and listen. He cuts through the freezer. You've all seen it in the trailers. And then just whoosh, gets her, and that's kind of where they cut. They don't find a body, etc. And, sheriff's on to him and all this and whatnot. But then kills his uncle because his uncle's mad at him, taking him back to his parents. Why he's worried about his parents finding out that he's doing something bad, do we really know? Why does he care? He's already going off the rails, right?
But the lady, remember, you see her pinned up at the end.
Yeah. So the parents finally start to realize that he's hiding a lot from them. They find evidence that he did kill their uncle, or his uncle, and his dad's been thrown through a bookshelf and stuff like that, with, like, the kid barely tried and stuff like that. So they're concerned and kind of afraid. The mom backs him up to a certain point. He's my son, I love him and all that, for a little while, but it eventually takes a turn when she really discovers his notebook and the graphic imagery that he has sketched and drawn of his murders. So throughout this, okay, he starts ripping apart the house because apparently his dad is convinced and considers there to be plenty of evidence that his son is a murderer and there's something crazy about him. And obviously, he's starting to come to terms with, this kid isn't my son. He's a freaking alien, right? Mm-hmm. So this is probably a crazy impactful part of the movie, right? We all know what's going to happen, but he's taking his son hunting to kind of calm things down, get him away from people and just go relax, have father-son time, right? That's how he plays it off. But really, regardless of his wife's displeasure, or what would have been displeasure, he takes him out there to basically shoot him in the back of the head looking for a deer. And when he shoots the kid, it just ricochets off, and the kid just kind of sits there, turns around, looks at him, and the dad's just like, and he's trying to cock another, load another bullet kind of a thing. And the kid just freaking runs him through. I forget.
He lasers his face.
He lasers his face and melts his brains through the back of his head. Mm-hmm. His own dad who raised him and everything. That's how crazy this kid goes off the rails. Granted, his dad tried to kill him, but I think it was only a matter of time, regardless of whether his dad tried to kill him or not.
Yeah.
So while he's out hunting, mom realizes this because she finds the notebook and realizes he's guilty and all this, yada, yada. Tries calling her husband to warn him that he is doing bad things. He's killing people, yada, yada. Be careful, this and that. He's already dead. The kid's on the line listening, floating above the house.
Which is not even his hand. It's like a 45-year-old person's hand. But
I did not notice that. But either way, they have this little chat, and she tries to, play it off a little bit and tell him she loves him and all. And where are you? And I'm home, Mom. He's floating above the house, crushes the phone in his hand, and next thing you know, he's running holes through the house and stuff. Cops show up because she's on the phone with the police, yada yada. I'm going play by play because
Joe, you don't need to do this. They understand how this is gonna end, I think.
But the murders are crazy,
But they're not. They don't show the murders usually.
What?
Yeah. Well, okay. So for what's her face?
The cops that he kills.
Okay.
He basically vaporizes the sheriff.
He does.
On the front
I'm
porch.
talking about the lady that he terrorizes, the girl's mother. So it's like all this build up, and then he finally gets to her in the cooler, and then it just cuts, and you're like, and then it shoots to like
what
oatmeal.
Happened, yeah.
It's oatmeal, and you're like, okay. And then when he kills one of those cops, he keeps like throwing them into the ceiling, or throwing this one woman into the ceiling a bunch. And it's comical. Like, it's not, it's like you look at it, you're like, ooh, that CG isn't super good. And then she finally falls over and like bleeds out. It's like, blah.
Yeah, maybe I didn't judge it quite so harshly, but yeah, she like chokes. She basically falls on the floor in front of the mom. The mom's under the bed, and she's just like choking on her own blood, and then just goes lifeless, right?
I think it's that one kill like the one person you want to justifiably watch die, like the mean mom or whatever, who is angry for the right reasons, is like the one you don't see. But like all these other innocent people, you just like watch like die in pretty horrific ways, and it's like it's almost like horrific just to be horrific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of tension.
I think what it does, yeah, like it's still got that scary vibe, and the scariest part about it is like he's essentially unbeatable. You can't do anything about it. Like if you're on his list, you're dead, right? So during all this crazy shit going down and cops dying and all and whatnot, the cop deaths are crazy. Like she sees the deputy sees the sheriff get vaporized in front of her eyes, like blood splatter on the wall type of thing. Baby. Misted, that's the word.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Just leave. I'd leave at that point. I'd be like, I'm out. See ya.
Yeah, and then she's like still calling in like, we need backup. I got a 2067 in progress. I'm like, really, lady? I'd be going for the car and just leaving. Like, sorry, you're on your own, people.
Yeah.
And so the mom is like, well, I know what hurts him. She remembered him getting cut on his spaceship on the metal. So she goes and miraculously there's a shard of metal that's easily broken off, I guess. Wow, that's lucky.
Yeah.
She puts it in the back pocket and she's like baiting him in, kind of a thing, right? And you're hoping for this conclusion. Like you're thinking, is she going to get the job done? Well, when she goes down to get that medal, this is probably the craziest part or the most like jaw dropping part of the whole thing. Like he had like some weird stuff about anatomy and like guts and stuff, that sort of thing. Some literature and imagery in his notebook and stuff. And so he was pretty dark and weird and kind of grotesque. And so she goes down for this piece of metal on the ship, and when she's down there, of course, pinned up to the wall in the cellar is that mother's body of the girl that he hurt, and he basically pinned her to the wall and split her down the middle, opened her up, and spewed out her insides. Like, sorry to not spare you any details, but it was grotesque and pretty R-rated. And you get the full frontal plus the inner cavity. It was yeah.
I think just the way you described it right there is like, oh, now the line. We found the line. It's always good because you got to cross it sometimes to know where it is.
It's like the Bless the Fall song Hollow Bodies in real life. Wow. Anywho.
Did you catch early on, Joe, when they're in the school classroom? I didn't catch this the first time, but they're talking about bees, and they talk about the difference between like bumblebees and like wasps, and like how like wasps will infiltrate and kind of bully other bees to take care of their own kind of thing, and that was kind of like an analogy for him, or kind of like
you're right.
And it was like borrow birds or something like that. There's these types of birds that like will sneak eggs into other like birds' nests, and like so it's kind of that. Again, that's from the Weekly Planet. They helped me figure this out, and I was like, oh, that's a really. I was like, why are they talking about bees? And I'm like, oh, now I know.
That was a really good like analogy.
Yeah, but they should have doubled down more on that. Like, I think that would have been more interesting, because like everybody knows like the second he's possessed, which isn't as cool, because like I'd rather have him like have some bad things happen, where he doesn't even like kill the bullies that were like, or people were making fun of him, like those, like I want him to like have the that it's the nature versus nurture talk, you know, like, and so Superman is all about the nurture, like he was born and like raised by these people. I should say born from another planet, but then raised here. But this is all about like the kid's just inner nature, and just like his, like he's gonna dominate the world. He's gonna kill everybody. Just like a pile of burning bodies.
What do you mean possessed? He's not possessed.
Well, when he's sleeping, he kind of does like that. He like shakes a lot and he starts saying stuff. So that like that's when the turn starts.
It's like his home planet's programming to like awaken him to his destiny.
So it's not as compelling as if like. For me, as if he just
Clark Kent went through the same thing in like Smallville, like that was the whole thing. Like he mistranslated the message that he was supposed to take over the world, when really their hope is to help.
Yeah, but like this kid, I don't know, the difference between Clark and this kid is Clark like was raised, and there was never like there are times when he gets possessed too, but for the most part Clark is like in control of what he's doing, where this kid, he is sometimes, but a lot of times like he'll just like do the sleepwalking thing, or he'll just start saying like that phrase, and it's not like him actively choosing, I think, to be like a bad guy, or like say, hey, that person wronged me and I'm gonna kill him, and then his mom's like, well, you can't treat people like that, you know, like that would have been the thing, like if you would have found the bully pinned up somewhere and she'd be like, you can't do this to people, and he's like, well, I can, he was bad to me and you said that like I should stand up to bullies, like something like that I think would have been like a little more compelling, as opposed to him just being like, I'm evil now, I'm a 12-year-old and I'm evil now, like I wasn't evil as a kid, but now I am. Like there wasn't like he wasn't mean as a child. If he would have been mean as a kid, I would have been like, oh, so this kid's been a jerk since a baby. Like if he was a 3-year-old who could like throw you across the room, like okay. I just think the concept to me is cooler than the actual execution.
True.
For me,
I would agree with you. I don't think it's a bad movie in any way. Could they have taken a different path with it and made it better? Very possible. I think there were avenues or turns to take that could have made it a little better. You know, I like the horrific play on it all, because if you really think about it, it truly, I just really like that thought of this is what could have been. Imagine if
Yeah.
Superman was, it's like if you ever saw Smallville, it's Clark Kent on red kryptonite, only more, only, the evil is always there and he just kind
It's
of controls it
yeah.
better.
It's more brutal.
It's
Yeah.
very brutal. It's like using his powers for anything and everything bad, and that's the
Wouldn't
gist of it.
wouldn't you say the most jaw-dropping scene though was with his uncle? You know what I'm saying? A jaw-dropping scene.
Oh damn, yeah. Okay, so the deaths, I think the horror gruesome parts of this movie are really kind of something it can hang its hat on a little bit. Like you watch this around Halloween and it's like it's kind of an interesting vibe because it's, if you like Superman a lot, such as myself or Smallville, it's really entertaining to kind of see it shown in a different light or what
Sure.
could have been. And I keep saying that, but I think that's really the appeal here. And the way he kills some of these people, and somehow, like, he doesn't get away with it per se, but
Yeah, he does.
he kind of does. Like, he's suspect, granted. Like, the sheriff kind of has the idea and is narrowing in on him, sort of a thing, but it doesn't matter. Um, I'm trying to think of where I'm going with this, but
That's fine. If you need a minute, I can say something else.
we don't rehearse ahead of time, people.
No, we don't. It's all off the cuff, baby.
It, you know, I, just let me find my path here. Oh, so trying to get to the scene where he kills his uncle, he does that because for some reason, and it doesn't make any sense. So a little bit of a flaw in the movie. He doesn't want his uncle to tell his parents. Like he's throwing him in the truck after a night of drinking with his dad, his uncle, and trying to take him home and say your kid was at my house and it's freaking 1 a.m. or whatever, yada yada. And so he's all worried about that for some reason, which in all reality, why is he trying to cover this up so badly? I don't know why. In the end, he basically fakes an he doesn't fake an accident. He literally just picks the truck up, like he can like EMP stuff kind of a deal. It's weird.
Yeah.
Not really a Superman power, but he essentially just picks up the Bronco from the rear bumper and drops it from like 20, 30 feet up, bumper first, and the uncle doesn't even have a seatbelt on and just crushes his jaw against the freaking steering wheel, and it just literally like it'd be like impact damage, slid his face in half between his upper and lower jaw.
Yeah.
So his lower jaw's just hanging there and blood's just spewing out. And the whole time he's like staring out the window of the truck looking at the kid as he walks up to him like and then he pulls his hand away and you see it all and it's like, oh my God. Gruesome as all get out. Probably, yes, worse than the waitress pinned up in the cellar on the wall.
Probably over. I just feel like it's a little overly done. Like that's kind of like the movie.
A little
like,
bit, but I think that was the
yeah.
vibe they were going for. I think this was like a last October movie, I think, or was it
No,
spring?
this is May, I think.
Yeah, so maybe weird timing. I think it might have even done better in like a Halloween vibey type
Maybe,
timeline.
maybe.
But
Yeah,
I kind of find those as redeeming qualities, the murders and everything. That's where I was trying to get to, is that some of the murders and stuff, like you're kind of edge of your seat and kind of, it does kind of like get you taken back. You're kind of like, whoa, like I remember as we were watching, I think we were both kind of saying, oh, damn,
Yeah.
holy crap,
Yeah.
If it gets that reaction out of you, I think there's some success in that.
I think it's more of a shock value though, where it's like, all right, so a woman's pulling glass
Sure.
out of her eyeball and stuff, and it's like I feel like the movie, instead of worrying more about like the concept of if Superman went bad as a kid, it's more like,
Yeah.
well, how bloody would it be? Like, and it's like,
well, sure, yeah,
okay,
maybe it's
like,
a little minuscule
it
detail that you
seems
don't need
it's
if
a little
they were
more
to focus
immature.
on that overarching footprint of what if Superman were bad.
Well, I'm going to talk about something later that is actually more of that concept, but I think maybe done better. But the one thing I would still love to see, and I don't know if they'll ever make it, is called Red Sun, and it is what if, Clark Kent didn't land in Kansas, but he landed in Russia, and then he became like Russia's champion, and he was like, the fighter for communism and all that stuff or whatnot. And I was like, that is an interesting concept. If you're like, well, yeah, Moscow's got some nukes, but they also have like Superman, like. Oh, like, what kind of world would that be? I think that idea right there is like, now that's a movie. Like, to me, I'm like, okay, that would be interesting to watch. Not that this was bad. I don't think it's bad. I want to say that too. For me, it's like probably 7.5 out of 10. I think it's solid. It does what it needs to do.
Which is a pretty good score. I wouldn't have expected you to give it that good of a one, to be honest.
I think it's fine. Maybe it's like 7.75. It's incredibly predictable. At least it was for me. And
for the most part,
yeah.
And movies like that typically are. You kind of go in and from step to step. I mean, it's pretty easy to decipher where they're going to go with it.
But the ending, I was like, it was a little surprising because I thought it was going to end one way and it didn't. I was like, okay, fair enough. But I don't know if I go back and watch this again just because I like there's not a lot to it, to be honest with you. It is basically if Superman was a 12-year-old and got possessed.
I think if you enjoy those type of movies and you want to see that whole if Superman were bad analogy, if you will, or through line to the real Superman, and if you enjoy that style of movie, it's for you. You might get some enjoyment out of it. You might not walk away going, damn, that's a 10 out of 10. I've got to watch that again next weekend. I don't think you'll ever get that out of it, but I think it's worth a watch. I mean, you pick it up for $4 on rental on Microsoft Store or something.
Well, what's your rating for it, Joe? We got to know what you feel.
I'll honestly give it an 8. I think for that style of movie, I think it's pretty good. And like I said, I think it carries some merit with the whole murder scenes and stuff. I agree that it's probably too intimate. Excuse me. Like maybe they could have concentrated more on that through line of what if Superman was bad. But I also think they don't want to draw too much attention to that because that's not really what their movie is about. Like that wasn't their focal point. Like it was the basis for the story and they know everybody's going to draw that through line for themselves. But I don't think they necessarily wanted to like here's the S symbol. Like they kind of had that through line of he did the BB for Brandon Breyer or whatever, which that's all okay. I think it's a good analogy. Like it relates and it kind of draws that same path parallel.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like just stamped he's Superman. They never reference any, Krypton or any of that stuff. They don't get too far out into any mythology. It's not that kind of movie. It's basically just, draw the line yourself. We don't need to get into all that jargon, right? But ultimately, I think there was some merit in the quality of like, if you enjoy that gore a little bit, even like Saw type gore, only less meticulous, right? It really is horrific and kind of fun to watch if you're into that sort of thing. So
if you're a sadist,
I know that sounds bad.
If you're a sadist who likes Superman as a kid who's just ripping people apart, you're gonna love it.
I'm just a horror film type of guy. Like I like the horror genre, and I clearly love Smallville and Superman, so I kind of like that parallel play.
Sure.
And I found merit in some of the details. I know you kind of knocked a couple CG points, but to be honest, I'm laying back on the couch watching on a 60-incher, and it says it's 4K, but it definitely isn't 4K. Apparently HD, but I don't even know that I call it that. But I thought it was good enough. Yeah. I didn't really have any qualms with some of those details. I didn't really pick anything out per se. So I think it has its merits. I think it was well done for the budget it was done under, and enjoyable.
Yeah,
it was. So I know that was long-winded and everything.
Always is. That's who you are.
It's gonna be. It's who I am. I gave you the play-by-play. I hope you paused at the beginning and you went and watched it. But come back, let us know what you thought of it. And right now I'm gonna officially flip the spoiler switch because I gotta talk about it. Timestamp it, Jimmy. Spoiler switch.
It's too late.
The ending, bro.
The whole movie. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, we kind of alluded to the ending. Like the mom finds the piece of metal and all that. You for sure think, okay, there's got to be a dramatic conclusion to this where we kind of feel good about it, or we can walk away and dust our hands, right?
Yeah.
Well, she lures him in and she's hugging him, crying, and I want to do good, Mom. She's got the shard of metal held up and she's just about to thrust it into his neck. And the kid just reaches up and grabs it. And essentially he's just like, seriously? And he just flies her up into the atmosphere and drops her from, thousands of feet up. We can only assume 30,000 because then a jetliner comes by.
Yeah, about 37,000, yeah.
It was a really dramatic moment. The whole her falling away from him, screaming, and it was kind of, it wasn't going to get me to cry per se, but it is like, man, the mom who raised him, he was able to just toss aside, regardless of how bad he is. You got to feel like 12 years of only knowing her as your mother.
Yeah.
Would you be able to just drop her to earth and let her die like that? There's no freaking way.
Yeah. No.
Unless she was abusive or horrible, Yeah. And she definitely wasn't. Like, she was a loving mother to him. So practical, maybe not. I don't know. Either way, it was dramatic and pretty, I don't know, somewhat jaw-dropping. And he basically, to cover up what he had done to the farmhouse, to the sheriffs, everything, like the chaos he caused at the farmhouse, the homestead, he sees this jetliner coming and they don't show any of it, but you fill the gap. He basically just implodes the jet and crashes it into the farm.
Which I don't know how he would do that, but
he can fly and he's super strong and impenetrable, whatever.
I guess, but like he had to turn it and like smash it straight down or something.
He probably just ran the plane right through and then just flew it into the frickin' ground.
Yeah, probably. That's true. Yeah, and then they start playing some Billie Eilish and say he's the bad guy.
Yeah, that Billie Eilish credit scene, I'm just like, yeah, okay. I mean, I kind of get it. It's kind of funny. And
Billie Eilish isn't bad.
It was fitting and trendy. I don't totally mind it. And I don't really judge a movie based on the end credits anyway. Sometimes they're pretty awesome. But all in all, the conclusion that's drawn is, okay, jetliner crashes into the Breyer farm. No survivors except for the young adopted son of the Breyer couple. And he's sitting on the tailgate of an ambulance eating an apple with a blanket. Just like, and then so it's, who's the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Michael Rooker.
Yeah, he's like some crazy zany conspiracy guy. Like, they're out there, if we don't do something, they're gonna come down, kill us all. And he's got like little, there's like a bunch of little snapshots and stuff of this kid being spotted all over, like, taking out deep sea oil rigs for fun and stuff like that, weird stuff. And so the kid just continues to do bad wherever he sees fit to do some bad.
Yeah.
And you're just left with that conclusion of, the bad Superman exists in this world and just keeps on keeping on, and nothing anybody can do about it because nobody knows his weakness, etc., etc. It's done.
Yeah.
And it kind of leaves you with a slightly empty-ish feeling. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Man, I kind of wanted a cooler conclusion, but is what it is. I think it's a neat twist and throws you for a loop, and it's cool, So overall, what did you give it? 7.5? Yeah, strong 8 from me. I think it's a good movie for this type of movie.
Sure.
So, all right, I'll stop letting people glaze over and stop boring everybody.
No,
it was fun to talk about. I think I enjoyed it more than I even expected to.
Yeah, well, when I say brief spoiler-free plot synopsis, apparently that means full spoiler and not brief in any way.
It's been a long week, hence why we're recording on a Friday. I'm a little tired, so the rules don't apply, I guess.
Hey, why do we make them? To break them. That's why we make rules, baby.
Yeah.
Just make it
Molds, they don't stand up for me. I break the mold, baby. I'm Big Diesel.
Oh, here we go. Well, Big Diesel, which segment of the show is it now? Do you know what segment it is?
It's a segment that you like to call, I like to call, Levi sometimes used to like to call. What do we call it, Jimmy?
Oh my God, I'm doing it. Time Killers. That's right.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. Well, you can do it first.
Better myself.
You get to start. You get to start.
Yeah, time killers. Obviously, we got Brightburn out of the way. I think
Yeah.
it was worth talking about. We spent a minute on it, right?
Couple minutes, yeah.
a couple minutes.
About 33 to be exact, ish.
Damn. Anywho, I think people never gave it much consideration. So I think if anything, they'll get that time we spent out of it. They can actually realize there was something to it. Maybe give it a
Yeah.
shot. And
Well, we might have saved them like $4, and they can just throw that at our Patreon, which is great.
yeah, that's true too. That's true too. Either that, or it made 36 million out in theaters, and it's going to make a little more off rental.
There we go. Yeah, a couple more bucks.
But otherwise, what have I been killing time with? Heavy Metal Heroes, still indulging in that from time to time. Monster Hunter. It's been a hot minute actually since we last played before we watched Brightburn, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I haven't touched it in a week, unfortunately, but I'll get back in this weekend. Anything else? What have I been watching? Just Twitch, watching some streamers and whatnot that I watch from time to time, but really that's about it. Oh, music. We don't talk about music much.
Yeah.
But it's on our topic list.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, so my sister used to have this favorite band all through later high school and college. Some people have probably heard of them, but Sleeping with Sirens. I think a lot of people hear me say that, and if they know anything about Sleeping with Sirens, they're like, no way, Joe likes them, right? Kellen Quinn and the whole crew, not always has their music style fit my liking or my MO for music, but some of their songs have, and as of recently, they came out with a new album just a little while ago. I think not too recently, but I just now caught on to it. And I should actually look up what it's called, but the whole album, literally, like I'll mow lawn on a Saturday morning, I'll listen to that album probably 4 times through around. Every song on this album is just freaking fire. And
how big is your lawn?
Huh?
How big is your lawn?
I push mow it and I bag it, and I get probably 8 bags out of the lawn, probably more than that, even 10 or so.
I was using the rider
so it takes
today,
me a
like,
little
what
bit.
The heck? Okay.
No, I don't use the rider, so
I'm privileged.
The new album for them is How It Feels to Be Lost, and some people might say it could be interpreted as slightly emo. Kellen Quinn's got a very unique voice. It's kind of high pitched, but it's real fitting. They kind of go for that metalcore vibe, which for a little bit they were going to that more artistic alternative, maybe to be a little more mainstream and creative. But they kind of got back to the roots, and there's a little bit of that raspy metal voice coming back in, and real rocker, punky. And man, I really got into it. It just sounds home for me. I like it. There are some real big drops in some of the songs that really just like you gotta crank the radio up loud, and yeah. So How It Feels to Be Lost, Sleeping with Sirens, been killing time with that for sure. Listen at work and at home, good stuff. And also honorable mention to a new single out from Ice Nine Kills, Your Number's Up.
Oh.
Basically, I think it's like a play on, it would be Scream, right? Calls the girl who's home alone. Parents left you at home all alone. What's your name or whatever? What do you mean? I don't know. I think you got the wrong number. Well, I'd like to know who I'm looking at. And she freaks out and all this. And they basically write this awesome kind of metalcore song that just kind of tells that story, and it's really good. Huh. And for those familiar with them, obviously they had the album last year during Halloween that came out that did really well, called The Silver Scream, and it's basically songs based off of great nostalgic classic horror films. For example, Freddy Krueger, Jason,
Jaws.
And then there's some other ones in there. I don't know every single one of them, but Either way, good stuff. New single, another good one, just in time for Halloween. And those guys they're killing it. They're really capitalizing on that whole theme, and I think people are really digging it, especially this time of year. So smart on them. Good song. I've been digging it. Now on to you, good sir.
Oh, I thank you. You sounds like you have a lot of cool stuff. You've been doing a lot, man. So don't discount yourself.
In between the fires I put out at work, I do things.
He does do things. He does. Yeah, he's like, I'm watching things. I need it. So yeah, the thing I wanted to bring up too this week is it was a suggestion. I've heard it a couple of times, and our buddy Drew, I don't talk to a lot. He suggested it, but I actually watched the entirety of this show on Amazon called The Boys. And Joe, I think you would really, really like it. The brief, just kind of the quick and dirty. What if the Justice League was a bunch of bad guys, or like regular people that just did bad things because they could get away with it? And maybe that's why Brightburn didn't hit with me as much, because they have a character on this team known as Homelander, which is this amalgamation. He looks kind of like Captain America, but he's got like all the Superman powers, and he's just he's a bad guy. And watching him do stuff and work, and just, he's, his kind of catchphrase is like he'll work with the firefighters. He's like, but you guys, you're the real heroes. And he keeps saying that over and over to other people. So like eventually you know before he's gonna say it. He'll be like, no, you guys are the real heroes. And you're like, you're full of crap. But anyway, I think, Joe, you'd really like this. And there's one scene specifically where you get to see him, like, what happens if we started to use these superheroes for the military and stuff like that. And there's a great scene where he goes and cleans up some bad guys, but it's pretty violent. So yeah, but it's interesting. One of my favorite actors out there that I don't get to see as much of, but his name is Karl Urban. You guys might remember him from a lot of things. I know him as Éomer from Lord of the Rings. He was also Judge Dredd. He's also Bones in the Star Trek movies. He's been in a ton of different things. He's a really horribly underrated actor. But he plays this guy who's been scorned by Homelander and these superheroes for some bad stuff that happened in the past, and he's basically kind of trying to work with other people who've been hurt by these superheroes to bring these guys down. And by bring them down, I mean kill some of them, actually. So it's this kind of like sadistic world where it's like, what if you kind of privatized or like use corporations to like kind of sponsor these heroes, and they're not really doing super heroics anymore for the right reasons. They're like, all right, you're gonna be here, you're gonna do patrol here and here, and they've got like these crime analytics people who tell you like these are the crimes you're gonna run into like tonight. And it's like it's so demystifying, and it's kind of sad. And yeah, but it was really compelling. It was really cool. It can be very gross in a lot of ways. It's very rated M for mature, but there's a few really good actors in it that I really enjoyed. And another one, I forget her name, the person who plays Starlight, but she's kind of this young up and comer from I think she's from Iowa or something, and she joins the Seven, which is like the Justice League. And she's kind of like, she has an idea of how she like wants to be like, she's for truth and justice. She wants to actually be like a good super person, and they kind of bring her down a couple of pegs, and it's just really sad to see like this person who has all this hope, just kind of like lose that, and like everything around her is bad, and she can't trust anybody. And it was compelling. It's dark, but there's a really good cast, and I actually like most of the human people more than the actual superheroes, because the superheroes are like horribly unlikable. Like, they look good on TV, but once you start to learn a little about them, you're like, oh god, you're really a bad person. Like, what if the Flash like if the Flash was a bad guy, what would that be like? But not like Reverse Flash, but like if he was just a jerk, you're like, oh my. So yeah, so check out The Boys if you've got Amazon Prime. Joe, I think you'd really enjoy it. It's 8 episodes. They're already working on season 2, and I watch it for Karl Urban. Also, keep in mind that he's a New Zealander playing like a British person, and he's swearing like the whole time, using like the worst language almost you can possibly imagine. But for some odd reason, he's so endearing. And there's something about him where I'm like, I'm rooting for this dude. Like, he just hates all superheroes. He just calls them soups. They all just go, I hate the soups. He wants to bring them all down. And I like watching his crazy kind of, his campaign to take them down, and his little ragtag crew that he builds up, which are really actually probably pretty good. I don't remember most people's names in like TV shows, which is probably bad, but like they hear the name like 1,000 times, like, oh, that's a person's name. But it's him, this guy they call Frenchie, who happens to be, what did you drop? Did you drop your wedding ring?
Listen, it's a little big. Sometimes it just slips. All right, I fidget with it.
Frenchie, who's great, is this kind of French chemist, but like he's a expert in a lot of other things. There's this guy named Mother's Milk who like worked at this kind of like,
What?
I know it's weird. These are like comic names or whatever, but he just works at like this like a juvenile correctional facility, but he was like ex-military, and they all worked together. So like they've worked together in the past. I don't know. It's a good show. It's good and it's sad, and there's some really messed up stuff in it. And there's some things where you're like, I wish I didn't see that. But then there are other things where you're like, oh, that was pretty freaking amazing. So,
all right, flip a spoiler switch. What kind of things would make me be like, I wish I didn't see that? I want an example.
Well, there's a couple of mistings. They got a couple of mistings, like we were talking about earlier. People just like turn it into puddles.
Really?
So you might not. And then there's like some more like, I think it's more of like the implication of some of like the sexual abuse in the show. Like you don't really see this stuff, but there's a lot of like, oh, this happened, or oh, this happened. And you're like,
I mean, are we? I just say the word. Are we talking about like rape?
There's the implication that has happened, but not confirmed. There's another one where they like force someone to do something to one of the other superheroes. And it's just like, oh god, and you're like, you don't see anything, but still it's just like,
really?
Yeah, so it's like disturbing in that way. Yeah.
All right, so I have to get Amazon Prime to watch this?
Yeah, it's an Amazon. I thought you had Amazon Prime.
I don't. I think Haley uses Amazon, or she has an account, but we don't have Prime.
If you have Prime, you get that streaming service it's part of the package or whatever.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's just there. A lot of their other stuff I've got to still check out, like Good Omens, and there's like Carnival Row show. I tried to watch like the first episode, and I didn't get through it. I was tired. But yeah, there's some good stuff on Amazon Prime. I still have to finish The Man in the High Castle, but anyway, I watched The Boys. I would recommend it, but again, the caveat is if you are squeamish towards gore and kind of like weird sexual stuff, which there is some of that in here, which like just keep that in mind. You'll be like, what the heck's going on? But the overarching story, the characters, the players in it, I think are compelling enough and interesting enough and different enough than other superhero things that we've seen out there to really, it's kind of Watchmen-esque. So keep that in mind too. So if you like Watchmen, you'd really probably like this show. That's what I'm going to say about
I think I'm going to check it out. You've piqued my interest.
Yeah, and after
I like something that's kind of off tilt like that.
Well, in watching like an evil Superman, I think that's why Brightburn didn't resonate with me as much, because like when I watched like Brandon like laser murder his dad, you see that in this show, and I was like, oh yeah, I've kind of already like I'm used to this. But sometimes the lasers burn, sometimes they just cut through people and they just turn to like blood puddles and stuff, and you're like, oh my god, like you're just like, ugh. Yeah, there's a lot of just like kind of, that was gross. It's kind of gritty. It's a bit gritty, this show, so keep it in mind. The Boys, check it out. What would I give it out of 10? I honestly don't know, because there's some moments I'm like, that was amazing, and other moments I'm like, so yeah, I don't know. Just check it out. Let's move into that last segment of the show that I like to call community feedback.
And questions.
That's right, and questions. I was waiting for you because I was like, I gotta let him do that. All right, let me make a little timestamp here. Let's do this. We got a great question here from our dear Missile Mage, who I love so very, very much. All right, Joe, you ready for this one?
Ready. Lay it on me.
This is from Missile Mage over on our Discord. # Critical Podcast 2 if you're not in our Discord and you want to tweet it, or just tweet us a question. We'll probably know what it's about. He asks us, what would be your perfect collector's edition of a game be? What would you want to come with that edition? He said, also, if movies did collector's editions, which movies would you buy those editions for? And what would you want? Can be past movies. So, perfect collector's edition for a game. We'll start with that one, and then we'll move to movies. Joe, what do you think?
So something I would buy, that's something that's really appealing, or I think would be appealing to
comes
the
with
masses.
it.
They're marketable and do well.
Yeah.
So if I was going to buy a game, for instance, Red Dead Redemption 2, if I was going to buy that or pre-order it, I get this cool bundle that delivers, and it's got all this garb in it, right? Or swag box, right?
Yep.
Ooh, that is a good question. I know, so right off the bat, I think of some games that had that. Like I know Call of Duty Black Ops 4 had that, and there's this icon from the game. I think it's related to the zombies, but it was like, it's like an old like chest or whatever that you can open, and they had a bunch of like cool little deals in there. That I think would be cool if I had the money to spend on something like that. Like, it's not often I want to do that. I know Fallout 76 had one too.
Oh, that was rough though. Yeah, but remember, this is your dream one. You can have anything with this.
I can have anything with this. Like, what would it come with?
Yeah, it has to be probably like a toy or something, because it's not like, oh yeah, then Dwayne Johnson comes to play Call of Duty with you or something.
You said whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
How about yeah? How about Red Dead Redemption 2, and I get a freaking 44 revolver in the box.
Yeah, because that would definitely not be a problem. You have a reinforced lasso in the box.
I don't know what I would want out of it. I think, just like swag bags are cool, like stuff with the logo on it and whatnot. Like, I might be about like some Call of Duty stuff. But I think Red Dead has some potential, like, or you get like a really cool cowboy hat, like a legit one, right?
Sure.
Not some cheap knockoff from Dollar Tree, but like a cool one that you get in a Western store. That would be kind of neat.
Yeah.
Or like you could personalize it, like pick your color kind of a thing.
Sure.
That would be neat. Or like you get a set of spurs.
How about like a collector's edition of Cyberpunk 2077 that comes with like some sort of crazy techno weapon? That's fake, obviously.
It's something to mount on the wall. That would be neat. Yeah. That would be neat.
I wanted like a neon katana that comes with like an art book.
But
like
part of me wants it to be a game that I have some tie to. Like, I've played the previous versions, and this is a new one, and it's a new piece to hang up. Something that's had like a running series already.
Now that you mentioned that, that's why I want like the old like Darksiders 2. I'd want like a statue of death, like a big art book that's just like every concept of every monster in every place, like, and just something that I can look at every day and be like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Like, I've looked up these death, like, from Darksiders 2 statues, and they're so expensive. But it's like, one day I will probably get that. But I would love that, and like a pair of like little fake death sights you could hang somewhere, or like a little poster, something cool. Like, like that's what I want, man. That's what I want. But for
and a custom controller. Dude, any game collection thing, yes. Yeah, I want a custom controller.
Yes, that would be so. Oh my god, a Darksiders controller would be so sick. Like a good one. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there. I think the Cyberpunk stuff could be really cool though too. Maybe like a copy of the old Cyberpunk, like 2020 or 2022 like game, like the old tabletop games. They're just like, oh yeah, we just have a copy. Like, here you can. This is where it was inspired from or whatever. Like, that would be really cool to me. But yeah, and I think for movies, obviously, it'd be Lord of the Rings. I've got the like the gold edition or whatever here, but I would love one that came with. Now, just stay with me, everybody. It came with every ring. I think there's 20. It's 9 for men, 7 for the dwarf lords, 3 for the elves, and then 1 for Sauron. So like 20 rings in like a case.
Is that how many there were?
I believe that's how many there were. I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was 9 because it was the same amount that there were ring race.
That's for the men. But then there's the dwarves and the elves.
Okay.
It gets tricky. But yeah, I would love that. I just like as much Lord of the Rings paraphernalia and books and stuff that I could get, just like the artwork and all that. It's like, even though I've gotten stuff like that from the past as gifts, I just love having it, even if I don't like go through it all the time. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like, and a nice big map of Middle Earth. Like, I'm talking not like paper. I'm talking like parchment-y, like kind of like a leathery feel or something, where you're like, whoa, this is like in the movie they've got one like that, and I'm like, one of those is what I want. Yeah, I would love that. And if it's not gonna be Lord of the Rings, then obviously it's Jurassic Park. But I feel like Jurassic Park doesn't have, like, you just get a bunch of cool gear. Like, I'd get like a coffee mug that says Jurassic Park and like a shirt and like a little dinosaur. Like, they could just be like, if Jurassic Park sent you a care package, it'd be like, this is the Jurassic Park care package. Like, it wouldn't be like, oh, and maybe a raptor claw. Put the raptor claw in there. See, now we got it.
Yeah, I figured it out. Jurassic Park is just like a no-brainer for me.
Oh my god!
I think your Lord of the Rings choice is pretty good as well.
Thank you.
I think Alien would be another good one with like a certain size scale model of the xenomorph, something like that would be really neat for the shelf.
Original Alien, like Alien, period.
Yeah, just a xenomorph in general associated with like a collector's edition. You get all the movies in the collection, and then you get some swag with it. That would be cool.
And you're like, I only like one or two of these movies.
And like I've seen the hoodie before, and it's got the egg with the glowing green stuff from the original movie poster, I believe. And I think the caption is, "No one can hear you scream in space" or something like that.
Yeah, in space, no one can hear you scream. I remember they used to have that down at Disney World. They played the old trailer for it in one of the rides.
Yeah.
It was a good trailer.
I think that one would be cool. I'm trying to think of others. Here's one that I would love. And it's just because it's nostalgic for me. My mom turned me on this movie back in the day, and I've watched it like probably once or twice a year ever since. And that's The Great Outdoors with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd.
Sure.
I would love to be able to buy like a collector's edition version, DVD, what have you. And with it, you get like a signed poster or something, which is, I mean, John Candy's no longer with us, but, something like that would be cool. Or like, like even like, and this sounds totally stupid, but like a little miniature statue of John Candy and Dan Aykroyd back to back with the bald headed bear, only it's like turned around looking back. And it's got the bald butt because at the end they shoot the bear in the butt and it blows the hair off its ass. Like, I would love that on a shelf somewhere, like in my office. I would freaking love it.
That'd be cool.
That would top my collector's edition something or other movie-wise.
Sure. That's good.
Nobody, everybody else is like, what the hell? That was stupid.
Good.
But for me, that's like nostalgic for me, and I would love it.
I just thought of one more because you inspired me, Joe. Last one that I would say, it's Indiana Jones like collection.
Frasier.
No, Frasier. That'd be great. Oh my God, that would be good too. TV. But I want the movies in a little baby Ark of the Covenant, like a little gold Ark of the Covenant, like the chest of the first one. And then also it comes with the idol in the very beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the one that Indy like steals. I could just prop up somewhere because that would be so cool. Because I just once in a while I would go up to it. I'd just be like, all right, I'm just gonna switch it out with a bag of sand.
Clearly the ones that you brought up for sure are like marketable, would do well.
They probably exist in some form, but
they probably do in some form, maybe not to the extent we're hoping, but like mine are kind of niche deals and like my dream.
That's okay. That's a beautiful. He said your dream. Also, maybe Missile's just fishing. Maybe everybody listening to this, they're just fishing for presents. And you know what, guys? If you want to send us collector's editions of these movies, we will accept them. You just let us know. Just airdrop them to Minnesota somewhere, or Wisconsin, or the Midwest. We'll probably find it. We'll find it. I was just trying to think of like my favorite films of all time and what I want to just sit around, and games too. Like I was thinking like Gears of War would be cool if I got like a book that had all the monsters in it and talked about them like that. To me, I'm such a big it just all goes back to Pokemon, I think, and my love for animals, just like having these creatures that are unique and specific and then have special abilities. Like it's just I love that. I just eat it up. That's why I love Monster Hunter so much. And again, Monster Hunter, like if I knew now what if I could know that back then, I would love to be like, Jimmy, buy the Monster Hunter Collector's Edition. Be like, I've never purchased a Monster Hunter game in my life. And be like, don't you do this. Just like, you just listen to me. This is going to be
Monster Hunter, like little figurines or statues of the monsters. Oh my God. If you could get the entire collection of the monsters, that's something they need to do. Like figurines of the monsters, and you get to order them and you get the whole collection.
Well,
that would be awesome.
I was talking about this on Game Sharks the other day, but I was saying or last week that they're not as plushable, but you could make a cute little Nergigante plush. But if I could get even just a statue of just him or some of those other monsters, you're totally right, Joe. If I could fill my room with like 50 like little statues of those monsters, I would do it. I'd be like a Barroth, a little Barroth. I'd be like, look at this friggin' or a Barryoth.
Exactly. And I'm talking like in their likeness, just scaled down, literally a statue. Even if they like allowed you, like it was like a paint kit. Like they came as like a white ceramic statue, and you painted them to their likeness. That would be.
You know what? I'll take a step back. Let's do a cloth like mural thing, but it's all the monsters on there, not like the little symbol version of them in the notebook.
No, I
like
want individual statues. I want them each to be their own.
And they're all like on a page, things that way, or it's like a big poster you could put up somewhere, and they're like, oh, Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, and like all the monsters are just kind of standing next to each other. I would at least settle for that. But like, oh man, think of those Elder Dragons, just a little set of those. That'd be...
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's a market they haven't cracked. They make some freaking money on that one.
Dude, that's Monster Hunter World 2. Now that the world's been like, Capcom's like, they've done that. Resident Evil, just wait for Dino Crisis. It's coming. Don't worry about it. Don't everybody
I'll bet you it exists. I'm
it.
Googling it right now. I bet you they already sell statues of the darn things.
If you could find a Nergigante statue, please, anyone send it to me. I would be forever in your debt. I would probably name my firstborn after you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to name my firstborn Nergigante. We already talked about this. Even if it's a girl, I know I'm a little old-fashioned. By the way, fun little joke for everybody. If you just say I'm a little old-fashioned after whatever you say, then people just have to deal with it. People are like, what?
Okay, some of these exist. If you want a Nergigante statue, it's him with like his wings not spread all the way, but he's like perched up on top of like an Elder Recess rock.
I'll take it.
Cylindrical looking.
Yeah.
It's it's exact likeness. $200.
I
Free shipping.
Will pay it. Hexagonal rocks, baby. We need them.
They exist. And then there's even another one where he's like on Elder Recess, like the crystalline spiky thingies, and he's like on them. And that one's $140.
We're moving in the right direction.
Nergigante. Then there's another one of a hunter in the full Glavenus armor.
Why Glavenus?
Yeah, I don't know what the weapon is on his back. It looks like something made from Glavenus, but the Glavenus armor is pretty cool and ornate. Kind of Optimus Prime-y looking, but that's $70. Apparently you can buy that at Walmart.
What?
Yeah, next time you're at Walmart, go in the toy section. Apparently there's a Monster Hunter figurine, a guy in a Glavenus armor set.
I'd love to go in there and be like, excuse me, where is your Monster Hunter aisle? They'd be like,
I am finding more as we go. There are figurines that exist of all these monsters.
Perfect. Let's buy them.
They average about $70. I'm seeing a Kirin. I'm seeing a...
Yuck. Kirin is the worst creature alive.
I'm seeing a Devil Joe, Basil Juice, Urigan. I'm seeing a Xenojiva.
We have a classic Rathian. Do we have a classic Rat? I mean, Xenojiva.
No, I'm seeing a Zitsu Yaku, believe it or not.
Oh my god, they did make all of them. My gosh.
The thing I don't like is like Xenojiva should be like double the size of the other ones, but it's not.
Well, it's just scaling problems. That's the same problem that Pokemon Plush has. Like some of the old Pokemon Plush ones are like, why is Charizard the same size as Pikachu?
But they exist.
Well,
figurines.
I want the figurines, or even make a little plush. Yeah, but there you go, Missile Mage. Also, I always say this, but seriously, if you're listening to us right now, please, I want to hear like your response to these questions too, because I would really, really love to hear like what your dream like collector's edition of a game or a movie would be. And again, it could be from the past, it could be from the future, whatever it is. That's it's a really good question, because obviously it sparks a little bit of, not even debate, just like sparks the passion in us. And if you can get us passionate, we're like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, we went on a tear there.
We did go on a tear, yeah. Which reminds me, I always have to remember this before we get like to the very, very end. We should do a specific hashtag for this show, because I know Ryan will use it, and I want at least one other person to try to do it this week. Just this hashtag, whatever, just even if it's in the Discord. Hashtag Dream Collection. Hashtag Dream Collection. Or wait, Does that make sense? No, that doesn't make sense. We're not Dream Collector's Edition. That's too long. Hashtag Dream. How about just hashtag Dream?
No, hashtag CR Dream. All right, CR Dream.
Hashtag CR Dream.
Tie it to CR, baby.
Yes, exactly. Just like that hat right there, which we do have a spreadshirt where you can get that hat and much more. It's
actually a very nice hat, and for some reason I prefer to wear it backwards. I don't know. I just like
you do look cool with it backwards. Yeah, he's on. I gotta wear more of my shirts. But yes, if you guys ever want to head us up, like I said, the hashtag Critical Podcast is the best way to do it, and you can find us over at Twitter. Our official account is @GoCritical. That's capital G and a capital C, like Go Critical. Or you can tweet at me personally. I am at JimmyGood013013, because 13 is my favorite number. Believe it or not, it really is. I'm not just saying that. Joe, if they want to tweet you, where can they find you?
They can tweet me at Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L. And Levi, if they want to reach you, where can they reach you? Oh, I'm at Levi Fletcher. That's Levi like the jeans, FLETCHER.
I'm glad that you brought Levi up because he actually reached out to me recently and said that he would be rejoining the show in November. I won't hold my breath. He has been on a WoW kick, and I know we've joked about it. He really has been, and he was kind of talking to me about it the other day, and I was just like, I figured you were kind of into WoW, so I was going to let him come back when he wanted to come back. So, and also we never heard anybody say otherwise about, like, missing him. So, and that's not to say that we don't want him here. It's just, I was hoping, like, one person would be like, hey, I miss him. But, yes. Also,
comment below, do you miss Levi, yes or no?
Which, that's one of my favorite things the Weekly Planet has done, and I know I keep talking about, there are podcasts I listen to every week, so please go check them out. They will ask yes or no questions like 3 or 4 times in their show, and they're like, just tweet us yes or no, no context, it's just yes or no. So like they just get just tweets that just yes or no. They're just like, I don't know what that means.
Related to
nothing.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but as Joe was alluding to, like I said, with the Spreadshirt there, there's various ways to support us, and if you guys want to, besides just like liking this video and sharing our channel with people, which is honestly seriously the best way to do it, donating to us over on Patreon, our Spreadshirt, or even going to our Twitch and subscribing over there. I'm streaming on Mondays. I'd like to stream more, but we've been having some problems with OBS, so I'm trying to figure out the new system. Sure. So we're figuring that out.
And the money you donate, it goes right back into this.
Yeah.
It's helping this.
It's helping this, and it allows us to go, like, see the movies and buy the games and all that stuff, because we aren't on the press lists. We're very small, as you'd imagine, here on YouTube. It's, if you have
we have fun, and that's all that matters, you know what I'm saying? Big Diesel don't take no shit.
Exactly. All the money goes right into Joe's pocket. No, that would be so funny. Be like, yeah, that's the only way I got him to be on the show is I just give him some money every month. No, that's not what happens at all. But I appreciate everyone who has been donating to us for so long, and especially the past couple of months, which I've been so busy with other stuff, and I apologize, but I'm getting back to it. Don't you worry about it. We got lots of stuff coming. I got some movie commentaries I got to work on, baby, and some reviews. So don't you worry your pretty faces, because they're on their way. Spider-Man 3 it's sitting right here. Don't worry. We'll talk about it. It's fine. Joe, as always, thank you for being on, my friend. It's a pleasure.
Heck yeah, pal. Heck yeah.
All right. Well, until next week, thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. Love and hugs to all of you. And just remember to adapt and overcome.